Leaders know that context matters. How do we know that context matters? Well, there's a couple of media explanations for that, and a lot of different worldviews are expressed through them. But there's two little examples, one from an iPhone 13 ad, which I'm going to discuss at length, and also one from movies way back when we talked about putting me in the right light or putting me in the right angle, or even, well, Karate Kid 2, he said what we need to work on. He said, your focus needs more focus. Leaders know that context matters. That's what I want to talk about today on Leading Leaders. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders podcast. We've seen these old movies and old films where you see the camera's just a little bit off to the side of what it's supposed to be on the screen of you. You see the frame of things. We've even seen the highlight reels. You can find them all over YouTube. Just go and see those most rewind moments or the thing you missed in such and such a movie. And maybe it's the Easter egg of an upcoming movie, or maybe it's a character that didn't belong in that movie. They actually are from a different movie, or maybe it's the old John Wayne movie with the yellow school bus driving across the background, and you're thinking horses, cows, and a school bus? That doesn't seem right. But see, everything in our world kind of fits around what we're zoomed in to see. Maybe you've seen the old Andy Griffith show where the guy comes to town, he wants to make a film about Mayberry, and he holds his hands up like this, and he's looking at the world like this. What is he looking at? He's looking at the ability to crop the world and allow you to see what they want you to see, what the movie producer wants you to see, what the politician wants you to see, what other leadership wants you to see. See, right now you've got a pretty wide field of background behind me. It gives you a little bit of context as to the type of environment that I work in and the things that I do. But the minute I change to this one, I have a very controlled environment behind me. I know exactly what's in this frame. I designed the studio. I put the cameras up. I angled the lights. I know what's supposed to be highlighted with color and what's supposed to be diminished because it's not in focus. Focus. Your focus needs more focus might be the phrase as we come into this brand new year that you need to pay close attention to because context matters. Now, maybe you've seen the new iPhone commercial. I love the way they put it because if you're not in videography or cinematographer, you've never worked in a studio, you may not really think about what's in focus and what's out of focus. It plays on your mind, but you're not really paying much attention to it. Photographers and videographers all know that you want the depth, you want something in the foreground, and then you want your subject, and you want something in the background. It gives you that depth. And, this angle, for an example, you may not know it from normally looking, but this plant, it's actually in front of me. Yeah, it's not beside me, and it's not behind me. It's in front of me. It has been since the day I set the studio up this way. I like the color that it adds in here. It creates context, right? Just like the painting behind me and the bookshelves behind me. It's all for framing. Now, if I were to turn the camera around and show you where the studio actually is and everything that's going on around it, it would change your perception of the studio. But here's what I know. We live in a world today where TikTok dominates, not just in views, not just in impressions, the trends, and where people are making their money. If you can get enough people to watch your videos, you can actually become very wealthy. Exposing yourself or dancing in an appropriate way or saying things rude to your spouse. Yeah, there's a lot of money being made by people who have 800,000 views of them being verbally abusive to their mate. I don't recommend that as a way to get rich. You might be rich, but you may have a horrible relationship. But we also know as leaders that we can change the focus even within the scene. If I were to push my camera out of focus and you couldn't see me, you might be inclined to read the detail on the covers of all the books behind me. If I were to push things out of focus and all you could see was the picture frame up there, again, you might be inclined to pay more attention to that. In the new iPhone 13 Pro Max commercial, it talks about cinematic mode. And in cinematic mode, it demonstrates how the person in focus is the primary subject. That doesn't remove the element of existence from all the other subjects in the frame, but it does mean that the one that's being focused on is the one that's getting attention. Let me translate that for you as a leader and for just individuals going through life. In your life, if you're focused on the drama is getting more attention. If you're focused on your income is getting more attention. If you're focused on the bad things that are happening and the bad relationships you had, they're getting more attention. And you know what happens when you pay attention to something? It grows. Sometimes it grows literally. It actually becomes a bigger problem than it was before because you're paying attention to it. An example might be if you're trying to be on a strict diet and you really want to pay close attention to what you eat, then making a journal of everything that you put in your mouth, that puts focus on your diet. That puts focus on your habits. That puts focus on the nutritional subjects of your life, your diet, and your health. But if you're not paying attention to that, it's easy for that to get pushed to the side. If you're not focused on that, if it's not in the context of your overall life and you're living just for your diet, well, your work is going to suffer. Your relationships are going to suffer. And if you're just worried about your waistline or your actual numeric weight, well, then your whole body may suffer. Because where your attention goes, energy flows. Where the energy flows, where your focus is, where your awareness is, those things grow. I also want you to pay attention to the fact that people around you, just like TikTok, gives you a freeze frame, a moment in time. Life out of context. Yeah, you can watch a 30-second TikTok video. I mean, maybe it's the boom boom video where the young lady wears baggy clothes and then strips down to something inappropriate. Maybe it's the video of the spouse being verbally abusive, or maybe it's the other one getting revenge. But remember, this is a snapshot. It's a very small window frame. It's a very small perspective. You don't get to see much of what's going on around outside that, and yet it informs your brain on how to think and how to feel and how to emotionally react to that moment. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them are devastating. All of them control the frame. Yeah, see, if I were to step out of the frame, now you have an entirely different video, don't you? If the only part of this entire video you saw was that, you'd think, why is somebody even producing this video? There's nobody in the picture. I don't understand what's going on. Out of context, out of frame, out of focus. See, those change everything when you're the viewer. When you're the leader and everything is out of focus, out of frame, out of context, you will lose perspective on what you're trying to lead, on who you're trying to lead. You might even lose perspective on your own vision. Where is it you're trying to go with this objective? What goals are you trying to accomplish? What strategies do you need to employ? What tactics do you need to take action on now in order to accomplish what you've set out to do for this brand new year? All of those things fall apart the minute you lose the context in which they fit. What part of life is so important that you abandon everything else? Is it one relationship that you need to focus on to keep the wheels from coming off your life? Is it one task? Is it one customer? Is it one client? Is it one new piece of education? Is it getting that degree? What is that thing that you need to focus on? That you need to turn the lights off on everything else around you until this one thing is the only thing that you can see so you can focus on it. I'm coming to this new year with a drive, not only in myself, but from those around me to say, there's a whole lot of focus going on. Let's focus on one thing. Let's zoom in tight on that one thing. Let's give it all the attention, all the focus, so that one thing can grow. And over the next few weeks, years, months, I will explain those things to you as I dig deeper into that one thing focus. What's your one thing? What are you focused on? Now, don't let that become out of context because you've zoomed in so tight and focused so clearly on that one thing that you lose sight of the rest of the world. But if you want that one thing to grow, if you want that thing to change in your life, leaders know context matters. Maybe what you need to do is focus priorities based on the amount of time you spend, the amount of money you spend, the amount of attention that you spend on any given task. And maybe, like the Pareto principle, you'll realize that, well, there's a whole lot of that blended in with the rest of my life, and 80% of my time is spent on 20% of my solutions. That's just a fact for most people. John Maxwell talks about how you can do a priority list where you take the 10 things you do every day and mark them down every day. Write down the 10 biggest things that you do. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself, which one of these 10 things was the most important to get done? And how much time did I spend on each of these 10 things? And most of the time, you'll find that the progress you make is based on the 20%, not the 80. Yeah, the 20% of the things take all your time and your attention, and they also make all the progress, which means 80% of those things you could probably drop out of your life. Just the way it works. Dig into it. But don't allow that focus to become a soundbite. Don't allow that focus to become a 30-second TikTok video in your life where you're focused so intensely for one moment. You don't understand the neurological impact it's having in your life. I really believe over the last decade, as we've seen everything from Facebook Reels to YouTube Reels to TikTok, compress our ability to comprehend and understand. I believe we've been retrained, many of us who pay attention to social media at all. We've been retrained to look at the world through a very narrow lens. Don't pay attention to everything in the periphery. Focus right here. We even see it in a 10 to 12 second video. There's a highlighted circle. Looks like John Madden's been playing with the TikTok video. The focus, the attention, it's right here. Look right here for 10 seconds. Pay attention to nothing else. Maybe you remember the movie, Now You See Me. He was very clever when he said, the more you look, the less you'll see. The more you look, the less you'll see. Oh, sure, your focus will be in that one spot. Your attention will be in that one spot. You won't miss anything right there. Question is, what will you miss all around that? As leaders, you've got to know context matters. Oh, it's great to see what's in the red circle. It's great to see what's in the video clip. It's also very important as a leader to back up, zoom out, and get the broader perspective to know everything that's in the frame and everything that's going to be impacting you, even that stuff coming in from out of frame, so to speak, the things you're not paying attention to in life that can derail you. As a leader, that's part of your responsibility to know what those things are in your organization and in the lives of people that you lead. If you're not helping them to control what's going on around them by giving them perspective, raising their awareness, opening up their worldviews just a little bit, then you run the risk that context will be lost and focus will be distracted. Perspective can be manipulated when life is nothing but a soundbite. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.